All right, hello everyone. Today is February the 24th, 2026. I'm your host, Dan, here at Dan's Astrology, here to deliver to you another astrology forecast about the upcoming retrograde of Mercury in Pisces. And in the midst, of course, with all this crazy once in a lifetime astrology. We're in the midst of something, Saturn and Neptune moving from Pisces into Aries, which is the specific singularity of this. These two planets at this particular time in the zodiac apparently hasn't happened for at least 5,000 years. And we have this kind of monumental, once in a lifetime thing going on. And in the midst of this, we also have eclipse season. And so these are things which happen a bit more regularly. But of course, Mercury retrograde is a thing that happens quite frequently, because Mercury, this is all due to the fact that Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. Mercury's orbit is faster than the only thing that moves around the sky faster than Mercury is the moon. And as we know, because we're scientists, we have a rational, objective, grounded, material understanding that the moon orbits the Earth, Mercury orbits the sun. But because the Mercury is closest to the sun and it's small, it goes around really fast. And the retrograde, of course, is an optical illusion created by the difference of the Earth's orbit and the difference of Mercury's orbits, as if you were, let's say, at a racetrack. You're watching your day at the races, watching the horses go around in circles. You are in one position, but the horses looks like they're going left and right, but they're really just circling around. The symbolism of this is where we get the idea of the retrograde, and it has become perhaps one of the most popular astrological phenomenon. Even people who don't know anything about astrology will make jokes about, I hear Mercury is in Gatorade, and so on and so forth. Here at Dan's Astrology, I continue to produce astrology content to announce to the world that if you see yourself above such superstitious things as believing in Mercury retrograde, the power of a full moon, the power of an eclipse, or perhaps the once in a lifetime transit of Saturn and Neptune into Aries, I count me amongst these idiots. Count me amongst these, wine mums, yoga class attendees, meditation gurus, ayahuasca shamans, white boy global nomads running kind of tarot shop, divinatory businesses. I bow my head in humility, walking amongst giants of the visionary prophets of my generation. I'm here to at least contribute what little I can to the effort to bring light and awareness to the unconscious issues that plague and our generation today in our good Lord's year 2026. Amen. The other day I was summoned to the courthouse in Vancouver to take care of a little bit of business, and I was out in town. Okay, I was out in town. I visited some record shops and did some shopping and whatnot. And I thought to myself, that I haven't done this in a while, and that there's something about this moment, this year 2026, to find yourself out in the town, observing the scenery. Man, it's things have changed since I was a teenager, right? But then I was thinking about, it's like a kind of an odd time to be doing this, to be going out into the city, to be fulfilling certain duties and running certain errands and stuff like this, like the good old days. But then I also thought, but I mean, it's also a weird year to be doing a lot of things, right? It feels like a weird year to try to do astrology videos. It feels like a weird year to use the internet in general for a number of reasons. It feels like a weird year to, I don't know, like keep collecting records, but I have enough money that if this is how we're going to do it. We live in a free market society where if you want to do with your money what you want to, it's your prerogative. I'm I'm buying a bunch of vinyl records. So I don't have to deal with this fucking internet streaming bullshit. Right? I'm like, well, I kind of already had been doing that for years, and it's like, it's kind of like surprise, surprise. It actually seems like it's not a waste of money after all, because now I don't have to deal. There's something about the streaming platforms where back before before I ever got into trouble with mental health problems, I was hanging out with a bunch of other people who were perhaps got a head start on it of going a bit crazy, and these people would be hyper concerned about things like, are you being spied on for listening to the wrong things on the internet or this kind of stuff. And their way of dealing with like this specific character that I met had a strategy where he was like, oh, this is what we do, we just got to like listen to a playlist where it's just like NWA fuck the police on repeat, loop, and then just play that at the YouTube algorithm, and just like, straight out of Compton, middle fingers in the air kind of style. And and this same person put a fucking samurai sword through his laptop because he was so infuriated with the technology. Right. The thing about this is, I have basically decided to find some avenue by which to resist the technology. And currently, what I've decided to do is to try to participate in a economic blackout of sorts, perhaps a boycott. And the problem about this is that I am realizing that the tech platforms are actually useful for some reason, for certain purposes. So my strategy hasn't been to abandon them entirely, but to use them in certain waves. For example, I'm currently living with my mother and my sister, and I have a whole bunch of stuff left over from my childhood that realistically, aside from sentimental value, doesn't there's no real reason why I need this. So things like, I could sell certain things off using Facebook Marketplace and all this kind of stuff. It's useful, okay? However, there is a certain kind of problem, as in there could be other platforms by which the same thing could be done, but the way that the predatory tech platforms work is they seem to buy out the smaller platforms. And then if there's a certain platform that's popular, all you have to do is buy your competition. And once you bought the competition, put a bunch of fucking banner ads up, put a bunch of features that make it harder to use, make it shittier, and then basically cannibalize everything that was good about it and make it into your platform to just make the competition useless, redundant, kind of retarded, and so that there's only one choice, basically, right? And then in this environment, there is what I'm noticing from other astrologers or other content creators or other like just people in general is the appeal to an apolitical position on this, right? And the thing about this is that it seems kind of obviously what shall we say, full of shit, because if your whole pretense of you're going to occupy, I have to admit though, like, for what it's worth, what am I doing here? I'm using a camera that I purchased. I'm using a microphone that I inherited from my father, who passed away from a heart attack. So I've got an inherited thing. I've got something I paid for with my own money. I've got software that's just free software. And I've got hard drive space, server space. I've got a whole infrastructure, which to some extent I am paying for a monthly internet connection, but I'm not paying for YouTube, these big platforms to distribute and deliver content, right? And I'm not paying, the software's free even, right? And so there's a lot of stuff that you just take for granted that it's free, and that if you are just making use of a free service, you have to accept that part of the stipulation of that's inherent in using a free service is that at any moment they could just pull the plug on you, right? And you can't blame them, because if they pulled the plug on something that you paid for. You know, I paid for the plug, I paid for the thing that's being plugged into, and if you're going to come in here and pull the plug, I'm sitting here, I'm going to stop you, right? But if you can pull the plug on your end, I can't do anything about it, right? And with that in mind, you know, I'm here again recording another astrology video for this platform, YouTube, and I'm focusing on the tech side because what tends to happen during Mercury retrograde? Tech problems, mechanical problems, the machine goes awry. I was just walking my dog and some guy's truck fucking had some truck issues, and there was a team of dudes trying to solve some mechanical problems. A sign that Mercury retrograde, the gears are turning already. Okay, the machine has been put into gear for a Mercury retrograde in Pisces, and I'm giving a lot of anecdotes, but what does this mean? Maybe you want to hear from the astro jargon, the technical details of what we're up against here. Now, the thing is, I'll give you the silver lining first. Silver lining is that co-present in the sign we have an exalted Venus, okay? Now, as far as Mercury retrograde is going to go, I'm not going to turn my nose up at an exalted Venus. It's going to help a little bit to maybe harmonize things, smooth things over, kind of make it so that we can do things in a peaceful, kind of cooperative way, that we don't have to be too aggressive about it. The problem is that also in the midst of this, we have Mars squaring Uranus, not in Pisces though, but Mars is going to ingress into Pisces after it's done in Aquarius. And where do you think this Mercury retrograde is headed? Backwards towards Mars. Oh yeah, we're going to get a Mars conjunction with this Mercury retrograde. So you're going to be watching a lot of astrology content where people have figured out, if you want to create astrology content that gets the viewers, that gets the people who are going to you have to do this foreground background thing where the background, chaos, disorder, the Kali Yuga, social collapse, anarchy and chaos. And then in the midst of this, the foreground is you, the astrologer, or me, I should say, the one delivering some content to you, that in the midst of this chaos, this misery, this sorrow, this darkness, all this suffering, I'm here with a piece of insight, a valuable little nugget, little jewel for you to nibble on that will give you the spiritual nutrients to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, for you to not give up hope, to continue soldiering on. But what you're going to have to realize is that this is a Mercury retrograde. The topic of this video, Mercury does not have good dignity in Pisces. Mercury actually there's like certain quirks of the zodiac that also highlight the fact that we're in eclipse season, right? And we just had the eclipse in Aquarius, but we have a lunar eclipse in Virgo because the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle is just concluding, right? And we're transitioning into the Aquarius and Leo eclipses, right? So we have the final eclipse in Virgo. Who's the ruler of Virgo? Mercury, of course. What's Mercury doing? Mercury is in Pisces, where Mercury doesn't like to be. Mercury would much rather be in Virgo because Mercury, exalted and domicile. Double dignity for some reason. There's some weird quirk of the traditional dignities that Virgo gets double dignity for Mercury and Pisces gets double detriment for Mercury. We've got double detriment Mercury, and if that wasn't enough, it's heading into a retrograde in the sign of the North Node during a fucking eclipse season, and then we're going to have a lunar eclipse in Virgo while Mercury is retrograde, and if that wasn't enough, then Mercury is going to fucking slam right into fucking Mars and Pisces, okay? And you want to know, I mean, I try to be a little bit, I'm not the kind of astrologer who just throws my own chart up and say, hey, look at how fucked I am because of this, but you know what? I spend my time living with a family, living with siblings, a sibling who is also loaded up with Pisces placement. We are both Mars and Pisces natives. We are both a couple of Mars and Pisces fishes swimming in a Piscean pond, man. We know, and I got some big ass Jupiter placements in Pisces. You know, I'm fully equipped to deal with the situation. Don't worry about it. Got the blessing of Jupiter, you know, all this kind of stuff going on. The problem here, though, is there's certain things going on. Perhaps shout out to Austin Coppock, the Pisces conspiracy, if you know what I'm saying. There's perhaps I'm just leading up to this. I'm finding out about all kinds of perhaps experimental cinema that could help with this. There's the movie called La Piscine, a French movie about swimming pools. You know what I'm saying? Like, what kind of pool are you swimming in? As one of like, is it time to are we going to be this is basically the problem, right? We've got heavy undercurrents in the Piscean realm, activated by the eclipse season, activated by certain ingresses, certain retrogrades. It's a heavy duty transit, to be sure. If you haven't been following along with the astrology, and all you know is some Mercury Gatorade shit going into this one, God fucking help you. I gotta say, you're gonna have to pay attention. You're gonna have to catch up. We got a heavy duty Mercury retrograde, and we're just barreling right into it in the middle of eclipse season with a fucking Saturn Neptune conjunction. And I'm down in the courthouse, man. I'm reading fucking Naomi Klein Doppelganger, and I'm finding out that fucking Asperger's was a fucking Nazi, man. Like, autism was invented by eugenicists, and the fucking I didn't get picked for jury duty. I was all up in my protagonist syndrome, thinking that I'd be on the hot seat, man. It'd be like 12 Angry Men. I'd be down there at the courthouse. I'd be drinking that courthouse coffee, man, and I'd be in the jury hot seat. It all comes down to me. It all comes down to my call, my take on the situation. What does this man think? What does this man see? This whole predicament that we're in, right? But luckily, I've been spared from that. It's not my job to make those kinds of judgments. Instead, I have plenty of time to just focus on, my astrology content, cleaning up this house. But I'm taking a break on selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is going to be the subject of a boycott. I just managed to sell some old Game Boy games for enormously high prices to collectors who are just salivating. They're just lapping at the they're choking on the bit to get the old retro Game Boy games. And I've got the mother load, basically. And so my act of resistance in this situation, as I see it, is currently what I'm doing is I've already sold some of the crown jewels of the retro gaming collection, and now I'm just going to hit the brakes, hold off, and just not sell anything on Facebook. And because I am basically a kind of isn't this sort of like luxury poverty situation where by making certain choices, like I don't drive, I have there's a lot of money I'm just spending not on repairing cars or buying cars or getting winter tires or all that bullshit, oil changes. And instead I'm going to build a fucking hipster record collection and, listen to my favorite krautrock records over and over and over again. And we'll see you motherfuckers on the other side, bitches. I'm fully stocked to just keep rolling like this for a long time. My only problem is my own appetite for destruction and my own troublemaker attitude, right? So I'm basically trying to use that as a certain raw material to submit to this strange alchemical process known as YouTube content creation. And I basically, I have to say, although I did get summoned for jury duty, and apparently they're not interested in having me on the jury seat right at this moment, anyways. I have to say that if I'm to make content for YouTube, who am I to approach this with a judgmental attitude towards whatever tech bro oligarchs may be pulling the strings in the hot seat of the power control center, whoever's running this show, right? I mean, like, you guys are providing me with a free service to distribute myself to the masses, with very little in terms, like, this is kind of fun. It's very little in terms of creative control or whatever. I feel like I'm at, I have the liberty to make all kinds of interesting creative decisions here. But what was interesting is recently, as an experiment, I actually had this on my mind for a while, that I have 3 YouTube channels, and that what if I created a 4th one or even a 5th one, right? And I, I've been, one of the things I've been boycotting Facebook Marketplace. I've also considered that YouTube and Facebook, they're kind of together as the same problem as these default platforms that you're probably going to end up using if you use the internet. And the question is should I be boycotting YouTube as well? And obviously, today I'm creating content for YouTube, so that's not what I'm doing. And I tend to just use YouTube for as much as I may like to just buy a whole bunch of records to resist streaming. I'm realizing that actually getting your hands on all the records versus having new bands that you want to listen to. Maybe you discover something. Maybe you remember some band that you saw years ago, and you wonder, do these guys have any new projects or something like that? Then it's actually a blessing to have the opportunity that instead of being limited to whatever is on the radio or whatever is in the record store, that we have this communication system that gives the people what they want, right? And unfortunately, there's this strange transactional system that we're in that uses our interests against us, that our own passion, like our passion, it's not just, at this point in time, it's not your passion project, what you're passionate about. It's like you are goddamn getting whipped by the Romans as if you're the fucking Passion of the Christ, right? Like you like this band? Well, here, take that cross and let fucking the Roman centurions whip you as you carry. You like this thing? What a loser! We're gonna whip him, and that's the transaction, right? You get it for free, but then we build a torture machine of an AI. Terminator 2 Skynet death machine that's going to take everything you like and find some way to use it against you. Not because necessarily we can make money off of it, but we're just a bunch of bored, sadistic fucks who, we get off on the fact that we're also destroying the environment as we do it, right? So it's a pretty grave situation. I don't know if that sounds like doomerish to you, but this is part of my motivation for doing a boycott of Facebook. And I was thinking about boycotting at least starting new YouTube channels, but then I got the idea to try it out. What if I tried to start a new YouTube channel? And what I found myself in was, it was like getting lost in a Kafkaesque labyrinth of dystopian proportions, where I was basically logging into my Google account and then verifying that I was myself, and then trying to create a new account or new channel, and then only to get pushed back to the same verification thing in an endless loop that never went anywhere, leading me to believe that perhaps I've been shadow banned from creating any more YouTube channels for unexplained reasons, basically. So one of the things that I have to acknowledge here is that while YouTube seems to be providing me with an unlimited number of hours to create astrology content and to just really kind of go off in an interesting experimental direction, if I were to create another channel to try to pioneer into a new project, it's uncertain whether or not that would even be possible. That if and there's other thing that's going on, as I recently saw on YouTube in one of the shorts, that apparently I also use Microsoft. I've been thinking about, Linux or something like that, or maybe going back to Apple, whatever the case may be. Apparently there are certain governments in Europe that are choosing to bypass Microsoft, because what they're realizing is that if we are now in a situation where if you are building your government infrastructure, of course, I am in a bit of a different situation because I'm an astrologer, right? Now, the thing about astrology is you have to accept the basic premise about me making astrology content is that the average person does not need astrology as one of life's necessities. that if the loyal audience of Dan's astrology was somehow obstructed from getting the latest astrology content, you know, they would probably survive, you know, or they would probably learn about some of the problems around this Mercury retrograde from other astrologers, and you know that maybe that would be just as good or whatever. But the point is that there are other services which are to be considered more essential services, and when the government it is the people that we have, when we rely on our government to provide the citizens with essential services, and then the government, if the government starts doing things that certain other governments don't want them to do, then all of a sudden their whole fucking Microsoft Office suite goes down as to crack the whip on them, to punish them for making the wrong decisions. We're fucked basically, right? We are totally fucked, right? And all I can say is that at least I'm in a position where I am not representing, I'm just making fucking astrology videos here, right? If I make another YouTube channel or whatever, like, and YouTube doesn't let me, like, all this is doing is limiting, it's keeping me locked into, I find it helpful anyways to have some means of creating, expressing myself, thinking about something, you know, having a, you know, delineation as just a job to do, right? Like giving myself a little job to do where I'm making some content or whatever. The problem about this is that regardless of whether this channel itself becomes successful, it seems to be that the powers that be somehow allow me to do this, but see my creative mind as being too threatening and dangerous to allow me the opportunity to start another project. Because if this is what I'm doing with my astrology channel, who the fuck knows where I will go next with this creative process? So, but the point is, all of this is that, you know, beggars can't be choosers. Basically, if this is their choice, is to enable me to create endless amounts of astrology content, even if it's a little offbeat, even if it's a little bit different, you know, well, you know, you could, I say it's a glass half full or glass half empty situation. And whether you want, it's your choice whether you want to be paranoid or whether you want to believe in pronoia, right? That the universe is actually helping you. It's all just you know, these are all choices on our path of spiritual evolution. And that if you think that you're entitled to having a whole fucking unlimited channels of streaming content, what, for free, and all you have to do is plug in your stupid USB camera or whatever, and you can just stream away and say whatever you want, you know, maybe you got nothing coming, right? And I think there's also in the idea that you think you're just getting it free. What is Mercury about? Mercury is about transactionality, right? It's about quid pro quo, tit for tat, eye for an eye. You give me this, I give you that. You know, you thought you were free from transactional power dynamics because they give you unlimited upload space. Well, guess again, bitches. Apparently not. Apparently, if they like what you're saying, they will jack up your numbers, perhaps even artificially with bot numbers. If they don't like it, it'll look like you're a loser, and you know, maybe people hit the like button and it won't even show up, right? And you thought you were just going to have access to a totally fair system for free and you didn't have to pay for it, and we just give it to you all, and then we have all this, you give them all your data, and what are they going to do with it? They're going to just market to you more of what you like to you, and everyone's going to be happy? Guess again, bitches. I don't think so, right? So I'm basically in the midst of all this. You know, I think we need to review some of these transactional agreements things that may have had the guise of being you just get a whole bunch of shit for free, but apparently it's a whole transactional bargain, and you've sold your goddamn life away to the monolithic mega corporation. This goddamn Eye of Sauron screaming cyclops in the middle of the goddamn bagel donut black hole, you know, that our soul has been collectively sucked into, and we have the goddamn fucking Dyson sphere vacuum cleaner obliterating you know, anything left of a compassionate soul, creative spirit of goodwill for our neighbors and our community. Instead, we're just sucked into this goddamn madness. This is each time I make this video, I'm deliberating whether or not I should just switch to writing a bunch of bullshit on my NeoCities page, which I will link in the description. Or if NeoCities, like, is the indie web the answer? Would they even let me do a astrology Substack, or would the doors of the techno oligarch citadel just slam shut on me if I try freely expressing myself on that platform, right? Who knows? I do have a Substack, by the way. I guess I'll link that in the description as well. I'm just so this is basic. I think when it comes to their creative writing process, blogging, vlogging, tech platforms, selling things online. If you kind of get where I'm going with this, I'm just telling you what I'm straight up what I'm doing. I'm doing a kind of I'm taking some insight from our wise teachers such as Wilhelm Reich, some pulsations. We're just gonna like hammer them we're gonna sell some retro video games just to flash off some wads of cash, then just blackout, right? We're gonna black out for 6 months, and then I'm just sitting here listening to records, piles of cash, what the fuck you want to do, Americans? How's your economy doing? I'm making I'm eating fish for dinner. Fuck you. We're rolling high off the fucking, omega-3 fatty acids. Living large on the locally grown blueberries. I got lots in the freezer. I'm making some blueberry muffins. I'm not on any diet here, man. I'm not anorexic. I'm not bulimic. I'm eating well off locally grown goods, and I'm gonna express my goodwill. I'm gonna create homeopathic remedies, if not for my local community, but for a community of like-minded individuals on this network of life. So big up the astrology community. What's up, Ren Butler? What's up, Adam Ellenboss? How's it rolling in 2026? All right, peace out, homies. Catch you next time.